Welcome to the Impact My Life podcast, where we try to give you self-defense for life. This week's episode, I'm really excited about. It's with one of the people that I admire most. And actually, when I came up with the idea for a podcast, he doesn't know this. He was actually the first guest that I had in mind. But I waited 6 months to ask him until I developed better podcasting skills so that I could actually do justice to his story. This week's guest is, like I said, one of the people I admire most, Shihan Gene Dunn. So welcome, sir, and thank you for
Thank
joining us.
you.
I'm going to
Thank you for the lovely intro.
I appreciate it, sir. I'm going to start with an introduction for the people that don't know you. But honestly, we'll talk about, your martial arts accolades and your, all the ranks that you've earned in different styles. But for me, like, our conversation is going to be more about like what's up here. Your the philosophy, how spiritual you are, and how you bring emotion and feeling to the martial arts, and that's kind of what I've always enjoyed about your classes. But I
Thank
will
you.
do an intro for you. So Shihan Gene Dunn, lifelong martial artist who started Shotokan in 1981, captain of the U.S. traditional karate team, opened his first school in 1994, a BJJ black belt under Henzo Gracie, his fifth American black belt, which is incredible, judo, karate, and kung fu black belts, and a black armband in Muay Thai. Co-founder and leader of Brooklyn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with a big emphasis on cooperative, non-competitive training and personal development. You also have your Shotokan Dojo, and he is also the host of the Gentle Art podcast, which mixes martial arts with life, love, relationships, and spirituality, and something that I listen to every time there's a new episode. And one thing that I love about your podcast too, I don't know if you've done them as much lately, was the mat chat that you add in there. And towards the beginning, you had every couple weeks you'd have another little mat chat in there, and it always brought me back to classes with you. At the very end, you'd always leave us with something to think about. So like I said, there's the intro, but not much. We're not going to be talking about war stories or martial arts that much. It's more just Shihan Dunn and your teaching philosophy.
I'm so looking forward to it, and thank you. I'm very happy to be here,
Yeah, I
and
really appreciate it.
and and humbled to be on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I met Shihan Dunn, is probably going on 20 years ago, as a jiu-jitsu instructor. We had him in for lots of seminars and lots of filming of DVDs that would take 3 or 4 hours at a time. And we would be pretty sore after those because we would just do the moves over and over and keep recording them. But I came up through in the martial arts with like a pretty good group. I had, when I was a little kid, I had, a class with Jun Ri. I had, a lot of exposure to great martial artists. So when I became an adult and started running my own school, not much impressed me, but I still remember my first class with you. And at the end of it, the mat chat you gave us. And from then on, I was hooked. And so, you're kind of, on that short list of people that I truly admire in the martial arts, which is one of the
Thank
reasons
you.
why I'm so excited to have you on here. You've talked about like martial arts as your life's work. And I think for most school owners, there's the idea of, there's people that, do it as a profession, do it to make money, but then there's other people that it's like their mission. Like my doctor, he's a mission guy. Like that, this is what he does.
That's the guy you want
They
as your
will,
doctor.
they will pull him out, like probably out of one of the examination rooms, and say it's over when you're 90. So I kind of think that you're a mission type person like I am. How did you know that that was your life's work? When did you know it? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Frankly, sir, I'm still discovering its nuances. I would love to give you like this fixed answer that I was 18 years old and
Yeah.
I realized it, but it has been a process. The martial arts provided me with this opportunity, and I don't mean just to run a school or to make money. It gave me a platform, it, that I could work through a lot of the things that were going on for me as a young male in New York City in the 70s and 80s, um, without any hope. I didn't really have a lot of hope. It was very challenging, and I was able to kind of work through some of those problems and feel more capable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that if that happened for me, that could happen for other people. And so I started to kind of work on that and in that. And um, I will say that well through my martial arts career, I was fearful. I would have dialogue or internal dialogue with myself that, anytime I came in contact with a male, could I beat him up? Could he beat me up? Da 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 da. And it was a bit incessant.
Mm-hmm.
And then um, right around my brown belt in jujitsu, I was right around the age of 33 or 34. I realized that I wasn't having these fearful thoughts for about 2 or 3 weeks. I was actually moving through the world in a much different way.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to choose a moment where I was like, oh, this is going to be my life's work, it was in that space. It was in the space where I wasn't viewing things from a lens of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I could actually see, I could dedicate my life to this effectively.
It must have really changed your training, your interaction with people, just your overall life. You must have been so much more at peace after that.
It's still been in process,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a defining moment. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
talk?
lots of things improved.
So, can you talk a little bit about, you've talked about, you had a pretty chaotic childhood. You had a wonderful mother, but she had to work, a million hours a week to try to support you and your siblings. So you were kind of, set loose in New York City. How did that form you as a child, and how did the martial arts help tame you, or, help you get on the right path?
My mother, from the time I was 6 years old, we moved from Atlanta, Georgia to New York City. And there was no one, she was working. My siblings are older, so they were out of the house, and it
Oh,
was just me. And so from the time I was 6, I was kind of raising myself. She was working about 80 hours a week. And so New York City in that time seemed very predatory. It seemed very dangerous. If you go back and 76, 77, the blackout, all of these things, like the city was bankrupt. It was just a very chaotic time. So I never had a sense of security, really. Like, I remember there used to be a gang that was on my block, so they would be creating havoc on the corner. And I remember being so scared that I would be hiding in my house.
mm-hmm.
um, they end up, you know, being in the newspapers for some very aggressive stuff about 5 or 6 years later. That being said, um, there was not a lot of structure. There was not a lot of protection. So I was kind of constantly in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so my when I was 12, I had a very tough year. And it was my brother was a scientist, and I went to live with him, and he brought me to the karate dojo. He brought me to the first karate dojo. And it was the first time in my life that I saw males, because it was small. It was in the back of a laboratory,
Mm-hmm.
and there were probably 6 guys. There were 2 black belts, and in those days, karate black belts were very few and far between.
Yeah.
Um, and and I saw what I wanted to be. I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were strong, they were friendly and kind, they were ferocious, they were very powerful, they were artistic. They had like a very, Japanese karate is form and function.
Mm-hmm.
They were very precise, and it just had all. I could see, like, oh, that's the direction I want to go in. Those men have something that I need. And I think that that's how it really played out for me.
Mm-hmm.
That karate gave me all of these things: power and strength and focus and a way to look at life and art and all of that.
Yeah. Now, when you came back to New York City, did you immediately go train at another dojo, or was there a gap?
There was a gap.
Yeah.
I had trained with uh, a training partner of Bruce Lee's. I got a chance to see a letter from Yip Man as a kid.
Oh, wow.
I floated around a little bit, and then I settled at Mr. Miyazaki's dojo.
So you've been with him from that young of an age. Holy cow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then was that Shotokan?
It was
It was
Shotokan.
Shotokan.
It
Okay.
was the Shotokai dojo, which was Mr. Funakoshi, the founder of Shotokan Karate's son's offshoot.
Okay.
And they were known for their fighting acumen.
So how many years did you wait until you started other styles? Because you've gotten black belts in so many different things. How many years was it strictly just Shotokan?
I remember asking Mr. Miyazaki when I was 18 years old, like, how do I'm going to be a little bit crude, but how do I become a badass? Like
Yeah.
I was really interested in it. He had Mr. Vizio around him. He had a lot of very high level guys around him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know how to be one of those high level guys.
Yeah.
And he said to me, if you want to be a real fighter, go see Mr. Sheena and learn judo. So that was when I was 18. I started my next martial art was Kung Fu with Mr. Vizio, full contact Kung Fu / Taekwondo with Herb Perez. There was full contact training every Friday night. And that was when I was 19 years old. And then I started jujitsu with Renzo Gracie, with actually the first American black belt, Greg Kukuk, when I was 24.
Wow.
So there was a little period, but Mr. Miyazaki was so smart. He was looking at the martial arts in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just that way. He wanted to know what was effective. He wanted to know what was good and what worked.
And I think that's pretty rare, honestly. Even to this day, it's pretty rare that an instructor is, yeah, go learn, go see what, go try this out, go try this out. I think that's it seems natural and open-minded, but I think in our industry, it's kind of rare still these days. You're lucky to
Thomas
have them.
Clifford says something really fascinating, and I think about this a lot. He says you have to own enough of yourself to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, Mr. Miyazaki owned enough of himself to go like, Gene, go train with Mr. Sheena.
Yeah.
Go live what you want to live. Go be the person you want to be.
Yeah.
Fascinating that it's Japanese martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he knew it. He believed in it.
Yeah. One of the things that I always admire about you too is your knowledge of Japanese and samurai philosophy, and it's something that I do these podcasts to help everybody, but I always try to learn a little bit about for myself as well. First off, what drew you so deeply into the philosophical side, and then for somebody that's seeking that in their life, what would be a good place to start?
I really appreciate this question, but if I'm going to be transparent, I don't know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm Gaijin. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
And so like what I think is that I like to pull some of the essential ideology or philosophies
Mm-hmm.
and see if I can assimilate them and make them work for me, and therefore help in my craft,
Mm-hmm.
or the main craft in my life, which is teaching martial arts,
Yeah.
and give more depth and more information. But I went to Japan, and my host had said to me, what I admire about American culture is that it's wide.
Hmm.
It's shallow, but it's wide.
That's a
Like,
good way to put it.
people are interested in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And she said the thing that's very difficult about Japanese culture, she was struggling with it, is as narrow but deep.
Hmm.
And I said to her, my mission has been to combine both,
Hmm.
to have a wide, broad view with a deep wealth of knowledge.
Hmm.
Um, to answer your question about where's the first place to start, I think Mr. Funakoshi's book, My Way of Life,
Hmm.
Karate Do, My Way of Life, has a lot of embedded Bushido concepts in it.
Hmm.
And I think that it's a very good introduction to that paradigm. Um, and that's where I would start.
Gotcha. All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I was talking to one of my students last night, and he was asking, w- one, why, because he hadn't heard of you, like, why I admire you so much, and, like, why I wanted to do this podcast. And it really made me think about it myself because you're just a natural person. But I kind of realized, growing up, I loved competition. I loved sparring. I loved, seeing who was the best and winning. And what I've noticed as I've gotten older in my school, um, that doesn't interest me anymore. Like, what interests me is longevity. What interests me is people growing. What interests me is building a great culture and a great community. So I kind of realized that, like, over the past 20 years, my ideas have kind of come a little bit more in line with what you do. And Brooklyn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was known for not being on the tournament circuit all of the time. I think if people wanted to, you would probably support them in it, but it wasn't like your overall goal. Your goal was, let's learn and grow together in a safe way and learn to protect ourselves and become the best version of ourselves. Can you talk a little bit about why you went in that direction or how you do it, just the culture of your schools? Because I think it's kind of unique in jiu-jitsu. I found like a lot of jiu-jitsu schools are kind of like boxing gyms. It's like, let's go hard, let's ground and pound, and they kind of, it's survival of the fittest, and so it's tough for a new person. And that's not how I want my school to be.
What a great question, man. I'm letting my thoughts flood but what a powerful question. So, um, it's very difficult for a new student, but it's also very difficult for an older student.
Yeah.
Because, I retired from the Henzo Gracie Academy at my 20th year. I bookended it. It was 20 years nearly to the day.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, like, there's no country for old men here. There's no, like, it's very, very, very dangerous. And I knew that place is the one of the epicenters for jujitsu in the world, even to this day.
Hmm.
But there was DDS and there was all of this stuff. And it was after something. And if you're after that thing, well, you go to those places.
Hmm.
But interestingly enough, I don't think that the majority of people in the world that need martial arts need that environment.
Yeah.
And and even more interesting, and this is why I so appreciate the podcast, is that those people at the top of that circle tend to control
Hmm.
the discourse.
Yes.
They control the conversation. They control the media input.
Hmm.
But it's not the only conversation.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing now people who have been doing jujitsu for 20 plus years. They started when they were 30, they're 50 now, and they're coming to terms with it. I started jujitsu when I was 24, by the time I was 44 or 34, I'd already stacked up injuries. I'd already seen all of the insidiousness that goes on. And I, I was like, there's no way someone could survive that was, semi-normal
Mm-hmm.
in this environment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of why I steered everything that way,
Yeah. It's
because I
interesting.
didn't,
Go ahead.
if the martial arts was too exclusive when I started, I would never have survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
It still had this thing that, like, it was meant to bring the weak up, the weak, and I certainly was very weak, sir.
Yeah.
And it's just I believe in that.
It's interesting too, is when I was talking to that student last night, the other thing that can't, because he really made me think about it, like, why am I doing this? The other thing that made me think about, like, in terms of like my philosophy is, the people that compete, they'll be fine because they're naturally like competitive. I already feel like I'm better than you. I like the underdog. Like I've always liked the underdog. I want the one that needs help getting to that point. And then the other thing that, and like I said, the people that want to do it, it's wonderful. It's just not my interest right now. I feel like a lot of them end up like out of the martial arts. Like they end up like that guy that played football in high school, and that's like all you can talk about. And because he can't go back to that, like it just he's kind of bitter about it. And so I feel like a lot of times the people that compete a lot, it's like what comes afterwards. For me, I love that. When these kids graduate high school, and I had a stat where 3 out of 4 years I had a valedictorian at a local high school with that was one of my black belts. It's like I love that. Like when they're done with me, they're hopefully set up, for a really good future.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and it made me think like that's kind of the path I want to go on. How can I make them better people, better leaders?
My friend Thomas Clifford, has said, like, martial arts is not a pastime, and there's no season.
Yeah.
Like wrestlers have a season, football has a season, and m- martial arts is a lifetime endeavor if one were to take that on. I suggest you do, because it's provided me with answers and solutions and a way of being that has gotten me very far.
And martial arts does have seasons. It's like seasons of life, though. When you're young, let's go hard
Fair
and be
enough.
competitive.
Fair
And
enough.
then we move into the next season. I think sometimes people have trouble transitioning into that next season. But when you get to that next season and you're just there training with your friends and getting better, and that's a really fun time. So maybe helping people
You know,
get through that, not sports season, but that next season of life with their training.
to your point, I know Gordon Ryan. I'm very fond of Gordon Ryan. Him and I, like, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, but he was the best in the world, the best of all time. And now he's come off that platform and he's chosen to focus in on a lifetime practice of martial arts and being a teacher.
Hmm.
And I wish him all the best. I hope that he actually does that,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people can benefit, though the jury's out.
Hmm.
Like, we'll see if he can be the next Danaher. I
Yeah.
hope that he can.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of guys that are at that peak, the Chuck Liddells of the world, and the other, people that were at the top that, once they stopped,
Yeah.
so um
Who we love to talk about, Craig and I, is we just love George St. Pierre. So we just
oh
love his
yeah,
approach to competition and the martial arts. And he's one that he's in his retirement, like he seems to be doing great, still actively training,
it's a martial arts guy
and
through and through.
like I'm sure he has injuries, but he's still training at a high level. He's just kind of, the model of a competitor after retirement, I think.
Yeah, I think he's a model of martial
Yeah.
artist.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
very clear about it. All the things that I've heard him say.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
top notch.
Something I asked Craig a couple weeks ago is like, um, over the past 20 years, training methods have changed. In some ways they're better, some ways they're not, but there's a lot more access to information, a lot more access to instructors and techniques and this and that. So I think people are able to get good faster because of just access to people and instructors and training partners. For you, what are like some traditional aspects that you hope don't get lost? Because there's a big difference between a dojo and a gym. What are some things that you hope that, because I think the martial arts right now is needed more than it's ever been needed. And for kids and for adults, I think, we're more connected, but more disconnected than we've ever been. So what are some traditional aspects of the martial arts that would want to see stay alive, or even get more important and thrive?
Another lovely question. I never hear Dana White talking about the martial arts.
Yeah,
I just don't.
yeah. Well, he came from
I don't
boxing.
hear him talking about martial art philosophy. I don't, there's so most of the information that's, at the top level getting bombarded to new people, it doesn't have any of that attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, there, I I mean that somewhat facetiously, right? But like, I remember having a karate shirt on, a Shotokan karate shirt on, and some guy coming up to me and he's like, "Oh, you're a Shotokan karate martial arts guy. I heard they can walk the treetops." And I
That's a new
giggled,
one.
but I tell that story all the time because in Okinawan folklore, those are the stories.
Yeah.
Like martial arts people are capable of more
Mm-hmm.
than the average person. And this is contextual, of course. But I think that part of what what I want to see remain in the martial arts is this underpinning of not that you're better than someone else, but you're better than your former self. And if you look at a dojo as it relates to a gym, because I've been in many gyms.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in many kickboxing gyms. I've been in many boxing gyms, and it's only the strong survive, right? But if you look at a dojo, it's like it's much more the law of the farm. We've talked about this, like where the whole group is working together to bring everything up. And that brings me to the next point is that while it is the age of information, one of the things we're finding out is that there's mental health associated with practicing martial arts in a group setting.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said that, or what I heard you say was that this is the age of information. More people can get better faster because there's YouTube and there's all this access to all these instructors, but you don't get the real magic
Mm-hmm.
unless you're in the class.
Yeah.
You with 30 people or 20 people. Like there's something about that. The access to more training partners, not just an incel group in someone's garage, right? Like, but the access to multiple training partners in an environment that's everybody's in agreement with,
Yeah.
right? And then we're all kind of helping each other. So I believe that that is an underpinning of the martial arts as well. That the group environment, the 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 shared experience in a framework that's martial arts rather than sport
Mm-hmm.
is very, I believe, critical right now,
Yeah. That's a great
especially
way to
for
put it.
young men.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's a great way to put it. Um, can you talk to me a little bit about I've heard you talk about it, but I'd like our listeners to hear about it, is the disease of black belt.
I heard recently that the death of jujitsu is someone's black belt. And I've also noted that in karate that there's something called black belt itis, where like once someone gets black belt, um, they tend to stop learning or they tend to stop working.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I had I had the privilege of having some very strong instructors. Mr. Miyazaki, lifetime practitioner. Like I watched him train day in, day out, well into his 50s and 60s. Mr. Vizio, lifetime practitioner. I've watched him train day in, day out in his 80s. I don't even know how old the guy is, but if I do some roundabout math,
Yeah.
and I'm probably going to get punched in the face tomorrow for saying
Yeah.
this, in his mid 80s at
Amazing.
least. His teacher, Wei Hong, most senior person in Kung Fu in the world, he's practicing in his 90s. So I had these prototypes, these archetypes, these men or these people to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. They were humble, they were inquisitive, they were constantly seeking information and improving and working out things.
Mm-hmm. In that vein, can you talk to me about sustainability, longevity as you get older in training? Because I feel like people get injured, maybe give up, or they're scared of getting injured, so they don't want to train anymore. And then also burnout. You've been doing it at a high level for a lot of years. So, what are some of your practices to, help alleviate injury and also to, stay motivated?
I want to be clear. Legitimately, I've trained 3 times a day, most every day. When I say most every day, 6 to 7 days a week for 40 years, 30 plus years. So
Amazing.
um, I just mean it to give context to this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, so I think a couple of things are important. I think understanding what stage you are or what season one is in life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that being okay with going to the next season and the next position is part of this process. So I've noted for myself that right around the age of 40, 45, I didn't want to let go of the 30-year-old me. I think what people call a midlife crisis,
Mm-hmm.
but I was having it in the martial arts and I stacked up injuries.
Yeah.
And then the next 10 years, I was spent time dealing with them and trying to train through them and all that. And I would just encourage someone. I believe in the lens of the martial arts as a way to live our lives. And I have up until this point thought I'm going to live my whole entire life as a martial artist. Elio Gracie did, Mr. Kano did, lots of very notable people.
Sounds like all your instructors too.
I'm close to them.
Yeah.
I'm 2 people away from each one of those people.
Yeah.
Um, 2 people away from or 3 people away from the founder of Shotokan. So I would say, to just really define this question there, or the answer to this question is, it's about acceptance. It's not about denial.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we accept, we're able to work in the proper context and keep growth alive, keep our fitness alive, keep injury free, I mean, being a badass.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I hope that was helpful.
No, definitely. All of them are. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
thanks.
Before I get into the next section, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the senpai kohai relationship, because I think that that type of mentoring is something that kids and teenagers and even adults need at this time. I know growing up,
Absolutely.
Shihan and he was, I didn't know the term senpai kohai at that point. We used the term kohai, but I didn't understand like the terminology of the relationship we had, but that's clearly what it was. He was my big brother in the martial arts and in life. And, so he was the big brother I didn't have, and, mentored me all the way through until I was out of college and moved away to Chicago. And then I came back. And so he was there for me my entire life. And I feel like sometimes and it's our fault because we don't educate well enough, but I feel like parents may compare us to a baseball, a soccer, where there's a coach, but it's not as deep as that. Like you get a kid that comes in at 8 all the way through when they go to college. Like there's a deep relationship there and a lot of caring and a lot of coaching and help that goes on. So if you could talk a little bit about that importance and your thoughts on it.
Yeah, Mr. Miyazaki used to tell me that his senpais were the most important people in the dojo. They kept him on track, and they gave him the the techniques. They made sure that he was developing them.
Hmm.
He said to me he never got a chance to talk to sensei. You didn't in Japan, you didn't talk to sensei. You went through the senior people, and the senior people guided you. And I think you're so dead on that we need this. I find it fascinating that a couple of years back there was a Old Spice commercial, I believe, that was had men telling other men that they could do better, that like they showed men catcalling, they showed men being rude, and other men calling them out. It was a fascinating commercial. And it got pulled because there was so much blowback.
Yeah.
And that's what the senpai relationship does. See, I believe that we need people to hold us to a high standard. And because of, unfortunately, the way that things are uh, have been mapped out, it takes something extra these days to do that.
Hmm.
And I said in the juniors class 2 days ago that, tough love is still love. And if you're a friend to someone, that I was saying in the kids' class, like there'll be a day where one of your friends starts smoking cigarettes, or a day that you show up in high school and they're offering you drugs. And if you don't say, yo, man, what are you doing? Like you're better than this, that you didn't really love them. And if you're up to no good and your friends don't call you out on it, they don't really love you.
Yeah.
Mr. Andrello was a good big brother to you. And he's a badass martial artist. So I'm sure there were some heavy lessons.
Oh yeah. I got pounded my whole
But
childhood.
of
But we
course,
loved
man.
it.
And amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Like you good for you.
Yeah.
They're hard lessons, but important. And see, I think that there's two sides to this senpai kohai thing. There's the courage to speak up when the junior is out of line.
Hmm.
It's not how we do it. That's not how you're supposed to do it, pal. And if you keep acting up, we're going to spar.
Hmm.
I don't mean that to sound violent, but it's it's a metaphor. You can
Yeah.
see it.
Oh yeah.
And then the junior, and this is where I try to go in my classroom, is stop being so offended. And this isn't a social political conversation. This isn't a blue and red thing.
Yeah.
This is about we need each other to course correct, especially if we're talking about learning how to protect ourselves on the street. Because someone with a big mouth that doesn't have a little self control, the big kid is going to come up to you and go, "What'd you say?" Bang. And your friends didn't help you.
Hmm.
It's a big subject for me. You can see I'm very animated about it. But I think it's super, super important.
Yeah.
If I look the other way on my friendships when they're in trouble, they weren't really my friends.
Yeah.
And if the reverse is true, or they weren't really my senpais, they weren't really my kohais. And if the reverse is true, then I realize, oh man, these people don't care about me.
Yeah.
And I think that Mr. Miyazaki was like, that's embedded in the dojo. It's integral. It's so important. And he was very clear. He was like, I would die for my senpais. He understood at least I felt he was communicating to me that he understood that those relationships were everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I feel bad, so let me go self-medicate by pressing Instagram. Let me just turn off
Yeah.
and run.
You know, your answer brought up another question for me that one of the things I've always admired about you is you're really in touch with your feelings, really open about them. Like you'll tell anybody, hey, I love you, man, you know, or that's
Of
beautiful.
course.
You know, I remember one time we were
Thank
in
you.
Florida and I was dancing with my kids at a restaurant and you came up, you know, Jay, that was beautiful. Thank you. And I was just like, you know, this big, scary, no offense, back then, scary guy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
is
yeah.
just so in touch
I'm
with his
still.
feelings and just so willing to like share himself. Where do you think that comes from? And because I think that's great for the younger generation coming up to see that you can be a man, you can be a tough man, but you can also be a caring person that shares their feelings.
Look, I think this is a misconception about alpha male. I like if I like if we talk about pack animals, the alpha animal, the alpha male is taking care of the entire pack. It's not just out for himself. And if you're taking care of the entire pack, then you've actually got to take care of them. And part of my relationship with you was to go, man, like look at that. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I understand that like lots of people, they feel very vulnerable. They don't own enough of themselves to be able to share or give away some emotion.
Yeah.
It's very clear, right? Like the predators are out there, the wolves are out there in that context. And if you come across as weak or you present as, I don't know what, vulnerable, then the wolves are going to converge.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's the beauty of the martial arts. Martial arts gives us the power and the strength to know that we can handle them ourselves. So what else are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, we're supposed to be loving, we're supposed to be compassionate and badass people. Walk softly, carry a big stick, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
It's just nice to see. It really is. It's refreshing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's refreshing. I'm going to switch gears a little bit with you, okay? Um, so you've been a almost lifelong New Yorker. I know for me, you know, I've been to a lot of cities, you know, Barcelona, Rome, you know, wherever, a bunch of different places. And there's something about when you come out of Grand Central and the noise and the energy and the smell, and they're just like, you just, the vibe of New York City. What do you love about New York City? And, you know,
What a
how's it different after the pandemic too? You know,
what a great question. I've often said that New York City loves me as much as I love it. It's a very reciprocal place. And I love that it's so dynamic and diverse.
hmm
From the food to the neighborhoods to the people to the, I mean, it's just really it's every place on earth in one place.
yeah. There's a guy on
Um,
TikTok that I watch. He travels around different ethnic neighborhoods in New York City, and so he'll go to like Little Bangladesh or Little Nepal or whatever. And I watch every single one of that guy's videos because it's just so fun to see like how many different neighborhoods there really are. And then he'll talk about, you know, this one used to be a Polish neighborhood, but it's turned over now, and it's fascinating to me.
yeah,
So I hear what you're
yeah.
saying on that.
For me, it is a city of the world, and I like to think of myself is as a citizen of the world, not just a citizen of New York City.
hmm
I'm an American. I love America, but not just an American either.
hmm
More, the entire globe, a global citizen.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I love about New York City.
Yeah. One of your other passions is art. And, you know, I enjoy, Yeah,
It's one of my
every day.
paintings.
I enjoy your do art every day, and then every day on Facebook, almost religiously. You know, you put up a picture, and then you put your version of it afterwards. And I always enjoy seeing it. What got you into uh, art, and what do you love about that?
Thank you for that question. So the legacy problem, I don't, I'm not, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I gave my life over to the martial arts and art. Um, it was just my choice, right? I'm not making a commentary on other people, but that was my choice. But I bumped into, there didn't seem to be anything substantive to prove to myself that I was alive.
Hmm.
And art, like a painting, I can hold, I can touch, I can feel. At some level, I'm like, oh yeah, I was here. Kilroy was here. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember that. Um, it was a soldier in World War II that everywhere he'd go, he'd scratch into a
Oh,
wall.
oh no way.
Kilroy was here. Um, and the thing about do art every day is I wanted to give people permission to engage with creativity, much like the martial arts,
Hmm.
and not have to be an expert at it right away.
I feel like people lose that as they get older too. You know, the demands of their day, and just that they kind of lose that creative outlet. So that's really cool. How did you find your
Thank you.
painting instructor?
My teacher is Max Ginsberg.
Yeah, I know you have a really great relationship with him. How did you find him originally?
He's a 90-year-old master painter. He's like the Mr. Miyagi of painting,
Yeah.
right? And he actually used to teach before I got to the High School of Art and Design. He used to teach there.
Okay.
And so I kind of he was in a network of friends that I had. We would talk about the old days and those painters and this, that, and the other. And then I got a chance to go practice with him. It was amazing.
Yeah. How many years have
Yeah.
you been doing that now?
I've been with Max, I think no, right outside of COVID is when I came to Max.
Okay.
So it's 5 years.
Wow. Amazing. Um, I told you earlier that one of my favorite parts of your podcast and your classes is your mat chats. I know all instructors have their own favorite mat chats. In our schools, it's always been 10 feet tall and bulletproof. For some reason, we just love the mindset that creates for kids and how it empowers them, and adults too. You know, it's something that, that, or yes, I can, or failure is your friend. You know, there's certain things that you just really like to share and teach with other people. What's one of your favorite mat chats that you share with people? One of your favorite ideas?
My mother's mantra, Josephine's mantra, I kept putting one
One
foot in
foot in
front
front
of
of
the
the
other.
other. Yeah, I heard that this morning on the podcast. Yeah, that's got special
Yeah,
meaning then.
because it holds so much weight. When you're in real dire consequences, when things matter
Hmm.
and they're super tough, just take the next step.
Yeah.
You get hit in sparring and you got to come back. You got to take that next step.
Hmm.
You fail a test in school. You got to get up the next day and go back to class and take that next step.
Yeah.
You're having a fight with your wife or your husband, and you can't settle for that. You got to come back and take that next step towards reestablishing a relationship. It's just a powerful one for me.
It's funny you answered my next question, because my next question was, take an adult, middle-aged, out of shape, burned out, stressed, what would be your advice to him? And honestly, your next advice, okay, what's the next right step for you? What's the next right step to to improve yourself? You without even knowing it, you kind of gave a great suggestion for that. But any other ideas for somebody that's kind of
Yeah,
not doing
join,
anything?
join a good martial arts school.
Yeah.
Like it, it delivers. It lives up to its promise. It has for me time and time again.
I always tell people when they are asking about how to choose a martial arts school, I always say do it as a Pepsi challenge. Go to a couple different places and just see where it feels right, where the culture connects with you, clicks with you, and the instructor as well. Because I feel like a lot of times people chase titles and belts and what am I looking for? Awards and just things that are recognized. So what belt is the instructor? Who did they train under? This and that. And it's like, instead of focusing in on, you're a beginner. You don't need Henzo Gracie right now. Find somebody that's going to motivate you, that you click with, that's you're going to keep showing up for. But any thoughts on picking a school or that?
I remember my 10th grade social studies teacher. I remember I did terrible in school, man. I was not doing well. I was wrestling with so many things, but I remember nearly every story that he told.
Mm-hmm.
That guy wasn't a world champion. That guy, like, I bet you he went home after his job and made a tuna fish sandwich. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or his significant other made him a tuna fish sandwich, and he sat down by the TV. But it didn't matter that
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't a world champion 11th grade history teacher, a 10th grade history teacher. What mattered was he could impart information to me that I never forgot,
Mm-hmm.
and that I use it, and that he gave a crap about me. He did, man. I
Yeah.
would walk in and I was struggling. He knew I was struggling too. And he just would, like, look at me with, like, care and respect.
Yeah.
And it completely uplifted me. And someone could be the baddest dude on the planet or the baddest lady on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't look at you with love and care and respect, you can't, what are you going to learn from them?
Mm-hmm. And how
What, a
long will you learn
punch?
for?
Will you retain it? I mean, there's so many variables.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look for that person who cares. That's what matters,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah. No. Uh, Looking ahead for you, you're still teaching, you're still obviously training a ton, still running your schools. What excites you? Like, what are you looking forward to? What still excites you about martial arts and teaching and training and just your life?
I thought that there was something called mastery, that, like, I would arrive there. If I were to be completely honest, and as it rolls out of my mouth, it sounds so ridiculous, but, like,
A lot of people feel that way though. They look at it with money.
yeah,
They look at it with money. Once I've made this amount of money, or once I've gotten this house or this job, I'll be there. But where's
I
there?
I I never wanted to be called a master
Yeah.
outwardly, but I thought that I could master the martial arts.
Hmm.
And what I've found is that is impossible. And because that's impossible, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
My As I mature, my body has changed. So when my body has changed, it means the technique is changing. The way the expression of the technique is changing. And goes back to what I was saying, like before, like, if you don't accept it, you're going to fight against it. It's going to break you. You're not going to break it. And so mastery tends to be this ongoing thing. And for me, that's a very important idea, to be engaging with a practice in such a way that you're trying to master it. And I think that that engagement in and of itself helps us to have self-esteem in throughout the course of our lives and the many seasons. It helps us, especially in the martial arts, to have fitness and flexibility. If we're talking about dojo, right, the social component, there's all of these ways in which the pursuit of mastery is benefiting us, even though it's unattainable.
Yeah. That's a great.
So I look forward to going, like, oh shit, man, I can't do the scissor sweep like the way I used to.
Hmm.
Let me figure out a new way.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can configure something differently that's as effective.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to put it too, because one of the things I always tell people, it's always going to be different, because even if you're sparring with the same people, because you're coming in with a different energy level, they're coming in with a different energy level. Like every day is different in some way, but like I hadn't thought about it in terms of just ourselves aging. Like it's our approach is always going to have to change. So it may be the same move, but
I'm
it's
not the same guy.
exactly. Yeah. Um, one of the things I was talking to Craig about a couple weeks ago was, my favorite thing about, like, to this day, from probably not the first class I taught, probably within the first couple years I realized it. But my favorite part about teaching is that, like, I look out in this class, there's 20 people in this class. Everybody's there for their own motivation. Some are there because they're just a little unconfident. Some need to get in more shape. Some are just very stressed. They need to de-stress. But whatever it is, we're all doing the same techniques, but they all get what they need out of the class. And that's like that, like for me, that's just magic. I don't, to this day, I don't even want to think about 50,000
Preach, brother.
classes, whatever,
Yeah.
however many classes I've taught, but it still amazes me that they're all here for a different reason. We're all doing the same thing, but they all get what they need out of it. And so for me, like that's my favorite thing about teaching. How about you? I think that's a good question to wrap with. What's your favorite thing about teaching and instructing?
I'm just sitting here reflecting on what a beautiful idea that was that you just presented.
Thank you.
It is a really powerful thing. And you're right. It happens like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in this moment, and it may change later today or tomorrow or somewhere in the future, but in this moment, I really appreciate being connected to something that spans a lot of human history.
Yeah.
And I have that with my art. I like oil painting.
Mm-hmm.
And oil painting for me is a way to have a relationship to Rembrandt. In some sort of way, we're related.
Yeah.
Or John Singer Sargent or Paul Cézanne. And the same I feel for the martial arts. I really love teaching martial arts because it connects me with all of the other martial artists that came before. And I get to put that on the shoulders of the next generation. So it didn't die on my watch.
Yeah.
It didn't dissolve while I held it for my time on this earth.
If you think about it,
And
that makes you feel even more responsibility too. That makes every class every week matter more, because you have this responsibility to all these people that gave you something that you love so much, that has meant so much to your life, and it's your responsibility to carry it on.
Mr. Vizio, Mr. Gracie, Mr. Danaher, Mr. Miyazaki, Mr. Leung, Mr. Sheena, they're all so important to me because each one of them, each one of them gave me something that helped me to not just survive, but thrive. And I've actually had to protect myself on the street. Not often, but it's happened twice or three times. And I'm still here. So I feel a sense of gratitude, a sense of debt, and a sense of responsibility.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's wonderful. That's a
And I
great
think
that's a
that
great
those are
answer.
good points for like those. That's what inspires me to teach.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I appreciate it. Um, I'm going to wrap with you now. Anything you wanted to add? If people wanted to follow you, Gentle Art Podcast is probably the best way, right? I love it.
I'd be humbled if you clicked on Spotify's link. That's really lovely. I want to say thank you, sir. This is
Thank you.
really important to me and really a privilege. Thank you for giving me the space and to ask great questions and to share more of me with the world, I'm grateful, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to do it, sir. So, and everybody, thanks for watching
Well,
Gentle Art Podcast. Shihan Gene Dunn. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
happy holidays.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you.
Love you. Bye bye.